This is the stealthy looking BMC Timemachine 01 of Team Dimension Data. It's their time trial bike, and this particular one belongs to Danilo Wyss. Now, I don't know if Batman had a bike. I mean, that's pretty much it, isn't it? It's the Bat bike. What an awesome machine. Now, there's loads of really cool details on this bike. The first thing that's caught my eye is that they're not using tubular tyres. In the past, pro riders have just always used tubulars, but no, this one has got tubeless ready clincher wheels on it, courtesy of ENVE. So we've got the ENVE SES Disc and this an ENVE 8 at the front. Now onto those, we've got 25mm Vittoria Corsa speed tyres. They're one of the fastest tyres available to humanity at the moment, and they're a tubeless ready tyre, and they're in 25mm here, but they're very, very thin. That's sort of how they work. So there's not much puncture protection in these tyres. The idea is that they're run with sealant, and because they're so thin, they have very low rolling resistance. Then this trumps the weight, because clinchers are slightly heavier than tubulars. And it's interesting to see that the mechanics and the teams are coming round to the idea that weight isn't always the best way. Like in the past, we were always trying to get the lightest equipment, and lightest was thought to be best. But the wattage saving from rolling resistance is seen to be trumping that. Dimension Data, though, aren't running them tubeless. They're using them with latex inner tubes, and there's a little bit of tape on there to stop the valve extender rattling around. This is the team bike of Danilo Wyss, but Team Dimension Data have a cunning plan for identifying their spare bikes. So it's actually a colour-coordinated idea. I think it's a brilliant idea. The bikes that the guys are going to be starting out on, their main bikes, are in the Stealth Bomber black colourway you see here, but the spare bikes that go on the car, they're over there, they're red and black. I've never seen a team sort of have colour-coordinated spare bikes, but it kind of makes total sense. Now, the time trial is quite a tricky one. It's pretty flat and rolling, and then there's a bit of a killer climb at the end. So gearing is something that the guys are really thinking about. So we've got a Rotor twin power crankset there, which is also a power meter. And because it's a time trial bike, we've got monster gears. So we've got a 55-44 chainring combination there. And at the back, we've got an 1130 cassette. Normally the guys run 1125 or 1128, I'm told by the mechanics, but for the demands of the time trial that this has been set up for, ahead of the start of the Giro d'Italia, it's an 1130 because there's a climb at the end and they don't want to run out of gears. Onto that, we've got a gold chain. John Canning's and Mr. T will both enjoy that. Now, with that climb at the end, you might be thinking that the guys would be concerned about weight, but aero trumps weight, so the guys are going to be sticking with the time trial bikes and not their road bikes or their aero road bikes. And the weight of this particular machine comes in at just over 9 kilograms. We've also got a neat little K-edge chain catcher hidden behind here to stop the chain dropping when you're making an important shift between the two chain rings. And then at the front, we've also got a K-edge mount that's really neat in the cockpit here for the Garmin head unit. At the front of the BMC Timemachine, we've got an incredibly neat aero cockpit, and it's pretty cool. Like, as you turn the handlebars, look at that bit that sticks out there. And in there, we've got the junction box so that the Di2 can be charged. It's all really neat and compact, and these handlebars are also very narrow as well. They're about 38 handlebars just to keep it narrower and more aerodynamic. And there's a few interesting hacks. So we've got no bar tape on Danilo's bike. We've just got some skateboard grip tape in various places just to give a bit more texture and grip. And on the end, we've got these really neat Di2 shifters at the front as well. I like those. A little hack or bodge that I've noticed though is these little bits of rubber which are being put here to hold the cables in place and keep them a little bit neater. These are the Di2 cables from these bar end shifters here as they slot back in towards the bike. For a saddle, we've got a Selle Italia Kronos. It's a time trial specific saddle and it's pretty distinctive looking. And you'll notice it's a short-nosed saddle. One of the reasons why short-nosed saddles became popular was because time trialists often like to have their saddle as far forward as possible over the bottom bracket. But the UCI have a rule whereby if you drop a plumb line from the bottom bracket up to the top, the saddle has to be a certain distance behind that. However, Danilo, quite unusually, has a lot of layback. You'll see the saddle is right back on the seat post there. And that's quite unusual for the reason I just mentioned. Time trialists like to have their saddle slammed forwards. And I suspect this might be because on his time trial bike, he's replicated his road bike position. And BMC actually have a really interesting piece of equipment over there that's a special jig that allows them to do just that. For me, this is without doubt one of the sleekest and meanest pro time trial bikes out there at the moment, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, then please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to GCN Tech. And to see more pro bikes like this, where you can click on Danilo's massive 55-tooth chainring.